Hi, friends. This month we've been talking about the hearts, and we've had opportunity to reflect on Jesus' heart and the heart of St. Joseph. And today we're going to reflect on the heart of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Mother of Jesus. And I think it's really important first to consider why we love Mary, that she is Jesus' own mother. That I want to love Mary like Christ loved her because he gave her to me as my mother. And that the only thing that Mary ever wants for us is to love Jesus and to come closer to him. And I reflect on the heart of a mother, all the things that are contained in there, that she receives, that she gives life, that she has to let go, and just all the events of her child's life. And this child is God's own child. And so we refer to Mary's heart, first of all, as Immaculate, because it was the home of our Lord. Like, our Lord dwelled right beneath her heart. And throughout the Old Testament, the Lord spends chapters and books on the Bible about describing the temple that's worthy of his presence. And so here's the Blessed Virgin Mary, blessed because she was created to hold God's own Son. And so we call her heart Immaculate. Her heart, in its beauty and its giftedness, gave Christ freedom to do the Father's will, strength to do the Father's will, and security. You know, that he knew all along the way that he was beloved Son. He was beloved Son of the Father, who was always with him. He was beloved Son of the Mother, who always provided for him and who gave him so much, and even the ability to do that which he was created for. We also refer to Mary's heart as sorrowful. And just because of those things, those hard things that Christ had to do, I don't know what would be harder, to be Christ's mother or to be Christ himself. I'm not sure what mother you would talk to who wouldn't throw herself in front of a bus to save her child. And there Mary stood at the side of the cross, along the way of the cross, enduring the pain of her Son. And her heart contained all of these things and embraced them with trust, knowing that her Son was beloved of the Father and that she was also beloved of the Father. And so there's this image of Mary's heart that I love very much. It's at the old chapel at St. Elizabeth Hospital in Lafayette, Indiana. It was the first Mother House chapel of our sisters. And our sisters are dedicated to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. We actually happen to be the Immaculate Heart of Mary province in the United States. And there's this image of the Immaculate Heart of Mary over the front door that as you enter into the Adoration Chapel. And I think it's a really beautiful reflection that we go to Jesus through Mary. And this heart has 4 elements that are very outstanding within it. First of all, her heart is surrounded by roses. It's beautiful. Her heart is pierced by 7 swords, which is terrifying. Her heart is blooming with fire, which resembles the fire of the passion of her Son. And then there's this smoke, which I actually haven't seen in other images of her heart, but I love very much. And so looking at each of those images, first of all, the roses, that Mary throughout her life gave this beautiful yes to God's will. And it's like this little seed was planted in this good ground of her heart. And her yes allowed it to come to fruition, allowed it to bloom, allowed it to bloom into Christ and his great love for us. And then all the joys that Mary had in her life, those are all beautiful roses. And she celebrated those. She loved those. She dwelt in those. And then there's those swords. And traditionally we think of 7 of them. 7 sorrows of Mary, and you can look them up. But there are moments in Mary's life where her heart was pierced by an incredible sorrow and anxiety over Christ and what was happening in his life. And I love meditating on those hearts, on those swords, that how can this little heart contain all of this? And how could she say yes to all of it? But she embraces it. And I think she embraces it with full knowledge of trust in the good Father, trust that her Son was beloved, trust in her own belovedness. And she could hold both roses and swords and think, yeah, they all dwell there and they're all good. The Father has a great plan for all of this. And then we come to the fire. The fire of her passion that reflected Christ's own passionate love for us. When he says that on the cross, "Woman, behold your son," as she looks upon John, the disciple. That's our moment to receive her as our mother and think of that fire that she has of love for us. And then above that is this smoke. And I don't know how to reflect on this, but this is what I've been thinking, that the smoke represents the hiddenness of her heart. That in many ways, mothers are underappreciated. A lot of what they do is hidden. A lot of their sorrows are hidden. And who can really fully appreciate all that is contained within her heart? And that can be kind of terrifying. Like, we want people to understand our hearts, but there's a certain part where we sort of let go and say, no one can really fully understand my heart except for God. And we allow God to kind of dwell in that place with us. This fire and smoke, I think, can also be resembling of the Exodus, when the people of Israel traveled across the desert for 40 years. And they followed the pillar of smoke by day and fire by night. And so that image of fire and smoke is both reveals God's presence and hides it. And so her heart does the same thing for our Lord, in that it reveals our Lord in a particular way, but also sort of hides him and covers him in a very gentle way. The Gospel of Luke tells us that her heart pondered. Mary pondered all these things. So her heart has the capacity to take all these things and to sort of ponder them and what do they mean? And she brings them together. And the word ponder in Greek comes, the Greek word is symbolo. So we think of symbol. You could think both of something being a symbol of something else and symbol, like something clashing together. But the opposite of symbolo, is diabolo, like diabolical. And so even diabolical means to throw apart. And so to symbol is to throw things together. So when something's a symbol of something else, it represents, you're throwing two ideas together so that you can think of one thing. And Mary's heart throws things together. She throws together the presentation when Simeon says, your heart will be pierced. And she says yes to that moment. And she throws together when her son has to take up his cross and he falls. And she throws that together with the beautiful aspects of her life and her trust in the Father. And she beats these things together, and with great trust. And so it allows her heart to expand in a really beautiful way and bloom. And so I think we're invited to the same thing when we encounter the joys, the sorrows of life. You're not familiar with the mysteries of the Rosary. Mary's heart has these joyful mysteries, these sorrowful mysteries, these mysteries of light, which sort of are reflections upon God's kind of presence in our life, and the glorious mysteries. And we have those mysteries in our lives too. And so I invite you to reflect on what maybe particularly are your joyful mysteries in your life, and what are your sorrowful mysteries. And with Mary, just to ponder, do I really have room in my heart for all of that? And the answer is yes. And particularly knowing that Christ is with you in those, that God the Father is with you in that he loves you very much in that, and he's trustworthy. He doesn't permit us to suffer anything that would be for a greater good. And there's this beautiful line from the prophet Baruch. He doesn't allow anything for our destruction. So that really hard thing that just seems like it won't ever end isn't meant for your destruction, but for your heart to be blooming and fully beautiful and fully alive for Christ. And that's something to really rejoice in and to really celebrate. And to, go forward in. So that's my invitation for you. God bless you. Know of our great prayers for you, and take care.